Chapter 32. Your bruised heart is beginning to heal, and your memory is slowly surfacing. Huan Chul called Riel on her landline, inviting her for a coffee break in a restaurant across from their office building. Riel was hesitant. She covered the phone receiver, looked at Hyun Ki, and told him of Huan's invitation. Hyun Ki gave a blank look for a while, then he asked, "Would you like to go?" "That would be up to you, babe," Hyun Ki said, then walked away to return to his room. Riel took her hand off the receiver and replied, "Okay, which restaurant do you want us to meet at?" asked Riel. "Give me 10 minutes, and I'll pick you up by your office and go there together," replied Huan Chul confidently, then hung up. The wonder-stricken Riel was forced to wait for him rather than meet him in a restaurant. She was worried about Hyun Ki's reaction, so she went to his room, but Huan Chul arrived earlier than expected. "Hi, can we leave now?" asked Huan Chul persistently. Riel stepped backward from her way to Hyun Ki's room and picked up her bag. She told the two secretaries that she'd be out for an hour. Huan Chul and Riel were walking towards the lift, and those who saw them together were observing curiously. By the looks of it, those people could be thinking if there was something between them. Riel felt uneasy, but Huan Chul seemed to enjoy it. As Huan Chul and Riel crossed the street to the other side, he held Rieler's arm to assist her. Then, as they entered the restaurant, Huan opened the door for her and held her back as they walked towards the table. Riel felt uneasy all along but had her peace so Huan Chul won't feel displeased. She saw in him a pleasant feeling, satisfied for accommodating his invitation. As they were conversing, Riel seemed to have these flashes of images about Huan sitting with her underneath a tree, then another one showing in her vision, Huan Chul placing a part of his headset onto her ears. Riel was confused and couldn't follow the conversation because the images kept flashing into her eyes. She flinched, held her forehead hard with her palm, placing her elbow on the table as if she suddenly had a headache. Huan Chul was shaken with worry and asked, "Mari, are you okay?" The word Mari seemed to reverberate to her consciousness, recalling his voice familiar to her ears. She was stunned. She looked at Huan Chul with eyes crossed, then covered her face as if stunned by a bright light. She could feel weakness in her body that she could not move. She was trying to get her strength when she heard Huan Chul again mentioning her name. "Mari, are you all right?" Riel reached out her palm to Huan Chul, and Huan Chul felt her palm cold. Riel raised her eyes to Huan Chul. Her vision was blurry and then spoke. I'm all right," she stammered, pretending. "I suddenly had this pain in my head, with these flashes, but I'm fine now. Give me a few minutes to regain my energy back. Then let's return to the office, please," she requested. Huan Chul waved a hand to the waiter to pay their bill and instructed him to wrap the food they ordered untouched, making an excuse that Riel was feeling unwell. Huan Chul called for his chauffeur, Mang Ben, to pick them up, for it seemed that Riel couldn't walk any further. What was happening to Riel? Could those flashes of images in her vision be signs of recovering her lost memory? These thoughts were running through Huan Chul's mind. Riel sat in the car, her head leaned on the headrest, and closed her eyes with furrowed brows. "You feel unwell, Riel? Tell me what to do." Huan Chul was worried. "I need Hyun. Call him for me, please." Huan Chul frowned but called Hyun Ki anyway. "Hyung, I am getting worried. Riel is in my car, and we are heading now to the car park, but she is not feeling well. What am I supposed to do?" he asked in a worried tone. Hyun Ki was high-strung. "I'll come down to the car park. Wait for me there." Hyun Ki was worried-stricken. He didn't know what to do until he thought of bringing her back to the hospital to see Dr. Benedict Chua. He called for Dr. Chua and asked the nurse if Riel could meet him since it was an emergency. Hyun Ki was inside the elevator going down to the car park when Dr. Chua answered his request and said he would be waiting in his clinic back at the hospital, in the doctor's office. Dr. Chua checked on Riel and asked about her present condition. Riel explained, "I was seeing images flashing into my eyes, doctor, which puzzled me, then headaches followed, and my eyes became blurry. I feel nauseous and weak and could barely walk when I had these visions." At that moment, Dr. Chua spoke. "Miss Gabrielle, remember our sessions 2 years ago, repeatedly asking you about your accident wherein you cannot recall. You were confused and upset, so I didn't force you to talk about it then as our sessions went on. You displayed a forgotten knowledge of that fatal incident. I then presumed that your memory of that accident was intact under lock and key made by your heart and brain, so I didn't pressure you to remember them because who knows, with God's miracle, your memory would come back. And now, maybe your memory was already resurfacing, your heart is knocking to be opened, and your brain is beginning to unlock it, So those memories buried deep will eventually come out, if not the whole thing. Maybe little by little. You don't have to panic. Do not stress yourself. Take them slow. Am I clear to you, Miss Gabrielle? Advised the doctor. Riel nodded but was worried because she was bothered by Huan Chu's stories about the two of them being in a relationship in the past, and then her vision seemed frightening. She wanted to talk more about her situation with Dr. Chu alone, so she requested Hyun-ki to have her privacy with the doctor. Hyun-ki gave her a chance, so he went out and sat on one of the benches outside the office and waited patiently. Riel started to relate some of her visions, confusing to her. When my friend, Wilson, gave Huan Chul a copy of the video about her prom night years back, I saw myself with Huan Chul going up on stage, and when he sang, the song seemed to prick my heart that I felt so heavy and emotional deep inside me. I found myself in tears. Then when I saw the part where we were dancing at the center of the ballroom, I truly felt that I was there, but the feeling for him was empty. I wept because the music of that dance seemed to affect me that much, but I could not understand why. Then another incident, a very recent one, which was today. Huan Chul invited me for a coffee break, and while he was talking, I had these images again, seeing him with me. When my head started to ache, his voice kept ringing to my ears, saying, "Mari, are you alright?" As if it was so familiar to me that my head seemed to spin. I became nauseous, my eyes were blurry, and I felt weak. I could not understand why this was happening to me. "Doctor, I think your bruised heart is beginning to heal and commanding your brain to open up. If that is the case, try to be strong and rational. Do not let fear overcome your judgment. Learn to face it squarely. In due time, you would be able to piece these visions together, which may help you remember the experience you had. Then face it bravely with a reasonable mind whatever that outcome is." The doctor explained Reeler's fears logically. Having her unsettling feelings resolved, she came out from Dr. Chua's clinic in relief. She was then in a good mood, and invited Hyun-ki for an early lunch before returning to their office. Both were in high spirits as they returned to his car. Back at the office, Hyun-ki asked the two secretaries to see him. Standing before him, seated by his desk, he talked warmly but with a warning. "Whatever you saw today about Riel and me has to stay in this office. I don't want any malicious rumors spreading within the walls of this company. Am I clear?" Louis and Alexis nodded and promised and left the CEO's office thrilled about him and Riel. Back in their places, Louis expressed in a low voice her positive observation. "See, I knew it. My hunch is right. Their actions speak louder, and I can't dispose of that thought of them being in a relationship. Do you think you alone observed that? I just kept quiet, waiting for their announcement. But then, why keep it a secret? Mr. CEO has no rumored girlfriend, so why hide it?" wondered Alexis. "They may have reasons for that. Like our boss said, I don't want any malicious rumors spreading within the walls of this company." Louis changed her voice low, mimicking Hyun-ki's verbal warning. Oh, I've been waiting for them to admit their relationship because every time I caught a glimpse of their sweetness together, I am oh so thrilled." Alexis sighed deeply. Before their office called it a day, Hyun-ki went to Reeler's table. The two secretaries were once more observant of their boss's behavior as he approached Riel. Riel was too absorbed in her work, so Hyun-ki bent over to Riel then whispered, "It's time to go, sweetheart. Let us leave now." Riel looked at Hyun-ki so sweetly, grasped his hand, and clutched it with hers as she stood up and reached out for her bag. They were about to leave when Huan Chul stood by the door. The two secretaries watched them closely, observing what would happen in this scene. "Leaving so soon?" asked Huan Chul. "Is there something more you want from Riel?" "Huan, all I want to know is if Mari was all right now." "Hyung, I was fearful and bothered by her condition this morning. I was wondering what caused her to be in such a shape. I am all right now, Huan. I feel fine," Riel assured Huan Chul. "I am glad nothing came out serious. Could I invite the two of you for dinner at home? I just wanted to express my gratitude to Riel for the birthday party she prepared for me." "Too bad our coffee break turned out bad," said Huan Chul with sadness shown on his face. "Please don't deny me this offer," begged Huan Chul. Hyun-ki looked over at Riel and said, "You're okay, sweetheart." Riel nodded and gave a faint smile at Huan Chul. "Good. Thank you. Let us go then," Huan Chul said in excitement. The two secretaries, happy with the turn of events, made a give me five sign and a fist bump when the three left. Huan Chul was decisive in his plan for friendship which would bring him closer to Riel to win her back. Would this friendship go up to another level? Keep following the Windows of the Heart series. Thank you.